Last month, Leanne and I asked you to befriend your nervous system. So what does that look like? That's just paying attention to your different states. And to review, ventral vagal is a state of where you're just kind of okay with the world. You don't have a response necessarily going on. There's no real protection. It's not always bliss. It's not always calm. It's not always focused, but you're ready to take on whatever's coming your way. Now, something interesting happened while I was writing book 2 and doing my final edits, is I realized so many people are confused with sympathetic, and they say sympathetic, the name doesn't, it's fight or flight. So you're not really in a place where you can be sympathetic to others. So I gave it some thought and I figured out, I think what it is that sympathetic means your body is being sympathetic to your plight. I came up with this kind of little jingle. Your body is being sensitive to the plight you're in. And so the plight leads to fight or flight. So it kind of rhymes, right? Plight and fight or flight. So it's being sympathetic to yourself. Your body is feeling like you're in protection. It's feeling threatened. And so it elicits a sympathetic response of chemicals that can speed up your heart rate, make you feel a little more alert, and that can put you into a state of fight or flight. And then dorsal vagal is the shutdown, and you can think of it as a door, dorsal, where you're closing the door to the world, you're overwhelmed or you're life threatened, and your body says, I'm just gonna shut down right now. I'm gonna go into this state where I wanna be alone. And at this point, the world isn't very friendly. You just feel like, I'm checking out. Anything you want to add to that, Leanna?
I think it's a beautiful description of the hierarchy of our nervous system. And for polyvagal theory, it's a beautiful way to understand our stress physiology. And that when we're in those states, either sympathetic, and I love how through conversations, Deborah, you arrived at, we're sympathetic to our plight, and our plight is usually for survival. And I often say if we're in a survival state, we can be sympathetic. Dorsal vagal is also a survival state. It's conserving a lot of energy. Is that in those states, we lose connection with the we of our environment. It becomes very, I need to protect myself. I need to get away. And so we lose connection because it's the state of our nervous system really influences the story we're telling ourselves. And in those two states, when we're there, I often say we enter into a monologue, an internal monologue, and we lose the dialogue with the community. So we really go into that place where we don't have access to our higher level thinking or access to even our coping skills. And that's why I love the polyvagal theory, and especially school moves, is because it's so much more than, because sometimes I describe school moves, and they're like, oh, it's like a coping skill. It's like, oh, hang on. And I love coping skills, but in order to access, Stephen Porges will say this to Deb, Dana will say that in order to access our coping skills, we still have to be moving towards ventral. So we can talk more about that later. But I love the description of the hierarchy of the nervous system and how you've been so easily you took a complicated, complex concept and you made it accessible. And of course, I'm just so proud because, of course, it was a teacher that was able to do that.